I feel like we've just reminded ourselves, you know, like at the start of those like handheld horror documentaries and stuff, it always starts with, and hi, here we are.
Yeah, we're just having a walk in the forest. Nothing
Like
bad's
we're about to
gonna
have Amy and Agne's Blair Witch Project. I don't know. Don't kill us either.
What an old reference. I don't think I ever actually watched that film, but we were all replicating it, like as kids running around with cameras.
I thought you meant like in our jobs, yeah.
No. Chasing the bride.
Those sticks. Hello again, everyone. It's Amy-Rose and Agne, and we're here to chat to you once again about everything wedding photography and videography for our online courses. So yeah, my name's Amy-Rose and my business is Amy-Rose Photography. Instagram handle is Amy-Rose Deftly, and off you go.
Yeah, my name is Agne Harris and I'm a wedding videographer. All of my social medias are different. So website is agnesweddingfilms.co.uk. Instagram is Agne_Harris, but I am gonna fix all of that very, very soon and make everything match, but not just yet. So yeah, we've got a few questions that we didn't get to answer last week, so we're gonna get to them this time around. So off we go.
Okay, so first one we have here. How do I market, and are there any groups that help you with referrals? It's such a huge question when you get going. Like last week we talked about like what we both did, how we started getting into photography and videography, like kind of doing the sort of events work, charity work, you doing more kind of friends and styled shoots, that kind of thing. So how does that then turn into paid stuff? Like, and how do you kind of get that client, the dream client, I guess, and how do you niche yourself and where to find them?
Where do you even start? Yeah, it's a big question, and it could be a lot to digest when you have literally no idea where to even go. But it's interesting because I've actually just had this conversation with another wedding photographer who...
How dare you?
I know. I tried not to talk to her all day, but then I just
No, you're not allowed to talk to other photographers.
I know. I told myself I wouldn't tell you, but anyway, so her and her husband are a team and they work together, and he does video, she does photography, and they're amazing. But they got started 2 years ago, and I was like, how did you get from literally nowhere, from doing a job in a bank, I think they worked somewhere corporate, to now being flown to Tuscany to shoot weddings, to here, there, all over the world. And she basically said that they did loads and loads of styled shoots. So that's, I think, something that's quite big, and especially during COVID, people started doing that a lot. When weddings went down, no one was getting married, but suppliers still wanted to show off their work and get their creative juices flowing.
Yeah, and you can do it with social distancing. As long as they were in a couple and you didn't get too close to them.
Yeah. So, I mean, luckily we're not in that stage anymore of COVID being such a big thing that it's restricting us. But styled shoots are always something that's going on. So basically what you do is you have a lot of different suppliers. So you've got the photographer, videographer. You've got a model who's going to be your bride and your groom. So 2 models. Or your bride and your bride, your groom and your groom, whoever you want. Then you've got the dress, you've got someone who's doing the flowers, the styling, you know, sometimes you get the venue involved, and all of these people that just want to show off what they can do. And yeah, you all get together, you find a beautiful location, and you just do a fake portrait session of the bride and groom. Now, I've never actually done anything like this. I've done something similar when I was doing promotional work for Atomos, or a brand that I represented and represent. I still use their equipment. But I sort of did something like that at the time, where I got a fake bride and a fake groom, and we got together and did a shoot like that. But it was just for my own sort of, it wasn't for lots of different vendors. But that's a really, really good way to get yourself out there, because no one gets paid for this, right?
Yeah, there's no money exchanging hands from anyone. It's all mutually beneficial.
Yeah. The models need their photos taken. Everyone just wants the advertising. So, and the great thing about it is it's you get to choose exactly what kind of client you're looking for. So if you want to do more barn, like countryside weddings, you can, aim to get together all of the people that make it look like that. If you're looking at more luxurious weddings or like coastal beach weddings, then that's how you market that. And then you've got an Instagram page that's got loads of images of the exact couple that you want to attract.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really, really good way to
basically
do that.
saying, this is what I do.
Yeah,
Couples,
come to me.
Here we go. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be a little bit tricky in terms of, not tricky, but you get really comfortable with these two models being like, oh, you pose like this, you pose like that. On the wedding day, it's not like that.
Yeah.
It is not like that.
Styled shoots are not replacement for experience.
Yeah.
Because working with real people is a very, very different thing. And I think that's probably where us personally have built up our businesses and marketing. So we're kind of talking about this from an abstract perspective. Like we see a lot of the, like our peers, they will do styled shoots, but it's not necessarily something that we've done, but we can talk about it because we see it and we talk to them about it. Yeah,
and you can see that it has worked. But yeah, that's not something that I have ever done. Have you ever done a styled shoot?
I've done one, and it was at a local wedding venue, so I was asked to do it, and I'll be honest, it was because I didn't really feel like I had a legitimate reason to say no. I just thought, well, yeah, let's go for it, there's no harm done. I'll be honest, I'm not sure like how useful it was for me, but that kind of came in when I was like 5 or 6 years in, so I'd already kind of established my client base, if you like, and sort of knew who I was working with. But definitely at the beginning, to just get more portfolio stuff to look at, I think that would be really usul.
So how did you market yourself then when you got started?
Yeah, I mean I feel like it was only 8 or 9 years ago, but it's still like, well, back in my day we had to do something quite different.
We need to put ads out in newspapers. No, we're not quite that old.
Send owls out, yeah. I started doing wedding fairs actually, and I mean wedding fairs were definitely still more of a thing then than they are now, and maybe again that's got something to do with COVID. But yeah, essentially a wedding venue would put on a fair for like 3 or 4 hours on a Sunday, and they'd invite loads of suppliers. You generally had to pay like somewhere between 90 and like 120 quid to have a spot there, and you have this jazzy stand and you're there kind of trying to chat with people. And I mean, I worked in retail for a while, but I've never felt entirely comfortable about approaching someone and just pouncing on them. I know that they're there to talk to wedding suppliers, but I still felt like it didn't matter how friendly I was being or whatever, it felt a little bit forced. But it was good for me to get me talking, and like, people talk about elevator pitches about your business and stuff. I still think, even though people know you're a wedding photographer, they still want to know like exactly what kind of wedding photographer you are. So the more you get used to talking about what you do, the more confidence you get. So maybe even if it like didn't necessarily help with marketing, it helped with kind of other things in my business. So yeah, building confidence, knowing exactly who I was and who I was hoping to work for, and who responded to me as well. So yeah, definitely did wedding fairs, set up social media. Instagram is not something that I am amazing with, but it's definitely been a tool, and I definitely do get inquiries through there, but it's not something that I'm an expert with. There are plenty of photographers who really know how to use it, and especially now with it all changing to reels and video, I feel like I'm kind of, if I carry on just sort of sharing photos and stuff, I'm probably being a little bit behind, yeah, and actually I just need to bend to it. Even though I'm a photographer and I could get annoyed about that, like I just think, and this is how it used to be, is a photo sharing platform. You just have to find a way for it to work to you, because you ain't going to change Instagram.
Yeah, but also it is a very good tool to get clients.
For sure.
I know a lot of people actually get loads of their work. I know another videographer who basically shares all of his edit flow, everything that he does during the day. He'll post a story on Instagram a few times a day, even when he goes out for a run. He's really, really talented. I love his work. And again, he got started. I remember when he got started, because he was like this new guy in town and new in all the groups. And he was being like, I can help you with this wedding. I can do this. And he's like top end now. Like, he's great. He's worked for me before. Did he work with you on that wedding, or did you work with Andre? Aaron. You worked with him.
I did, yeah.
So him, yeah. And yeah, he's brilliant, and he just worked really, really hard. And I think loads of his people come from Instagram because he shares a lot on there. I find that I'm on this really tightrope balance of Instagram where I use it as my personal page and my business page. So it's a bit confusing, I think, because my stories are all just home related. I mean, you'll remember when we were in lockdown, I was posting all of this DIY stuff, me cleaning my rug, look at my dog being stupid. Like, I just was posting all of this stuff, but people loved it, I think. You know?
Absolutely.
Like, it was fun.
Like, I get far more kind of interest and engagement on something that's personal on my photography account, even though I only really share my wedding photos on the grid, like through my stories and stuff. People love to get to know their photographer and you know, just share like similarities with you, I guess, and stuff that you can chat about. So
there's only so much bride and groom stuff that you can look at without being like, right, I'm done with this again.
Who is she really?
Give me the real stuff. So yeah, I think Instagram is a good platform for that. Have you ever paid for ads on, like, okay, Facebook was, I think, a big place when we both started out. I know it was for me, but now I think it's, does anyone pay for Facebook ads anymore? I don't know.
I may have boosted a couple back in my time, just on Facebook. Probably spent about £5 or £10 or so. And again, maybe a couple kind of came through there. Big one for me actually has also been my website. My SEO for Birmingham wedding photographer has always been sky high. Like, I've generally held like top 1 to 3 position. And that was through just total magic, I think, because I am not like a website guru either. But supposedly, if you kind of wrote your website naturally and organically and didn't just like kind of over keyword it or put a ton of hashtags that weren't necessarily connected to your pictures and all that kind of stuff, that Google favoured that and then chucked you higher up the rankings. So I don't know how I did it really. It's just a Wix website.
But you did it yourself, right?
I did it all myself, but it's just always performed really well on Google. So that's been really helpful. I know that a lot of people ask for Google reviews and things like that. Again, that's something that I've not done, but I know that can really help too.
Yeah, I've done that. And my website, I think, same as what you were saying. Mine's a WordPress website, and again, I was saying before we started this that I need to update it because it hasn't been touched in 3 years, and it's just so out of date. Looking back at it now, I'm surprised that I am getting inquiries through, because I'm like, this is not it.
Your work is that good in spite of the website.
I think people are just maybe finding me through Instagram because that's where I put all my newest stuff. Like my website's just really random. But yeah, I'm the same. I built it up myself and did lots of Googling of how do I make SEO work for me and all of that. But it does make a huge difference and it's I know that lots of people hire a website designer to do all that stuff for them, and that's absolutely, brilliant. But it's very, very important to be able to, I think, go into your own website and change things out without someone else having to give you the key every time, because it's your shop window, isn't it?
And you just don't want to have all that faff constantly. If it's literally just like, so for me, like, I've noticed that there's a double space in a word or something like that, like having to go to someone else to adjust that would be crazy. Big one that we haven't talked about is word of mouth referrals.
Massive. So whose mouths do you find?
Get the word from. Whose mouths are working for me. Generally it's, past couples obviously, or like guests at their wedding.
Do you have you ever worn like branded stuff so that people know that it's you? You know, throw out business cards. Oh, no, people do that.
I know, people do. No, I haven't worn branded stuff. I feel like, I guess maybe even just how I dress anyway is probably a bit branded, because it's like we're both a person. That's the name of our business, right? Yeah. So who is Amy-Rose? This is who she is. This is what she dresses like. And yeah, I don't even carry business cards as well. And the amount of times I get asked for a business card and I'm like, I'm really sorry. Do you still, really? No, I don't carry them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just like, here's my Instagram.
Exactly. I used to make like, every time I change my logo, I'd make a whole new batch of business cards, and then I don't even know where they are. They're just, I probably gave out like 10 of them, like, and you know they're just gonna go in the bin. Like,
I love that every time I change my logo as well. That's something like when you're deciding on your branding, when you get going, it's just like constantly. That's one thing that I did get done by a designer as my logo, but I had a really clear idea of what I wanted. It needed to go through a designer to just like tart it up basically and make it look smart.
Tart it up.
Yeah, but like
I find I move a lot as well, so my business cards are constantly out of date with like the wrong address on there.
You probably find like your old house has got like a ton of thank you notes and flowers and stuff.
Damn it, I want those flowers.
Yeah, they never reached you.
No.
But yeah, so like past couples, that's pretty much it. Like I feel like, I don't know if this is kind of underhand, but I've done it a couple of times where what I'll do, so when we organise confetti photos and big group photo, I'll introduce myself, and if I'm with a videographer then I'll generally introduce them as well. And I'll say, if anybody wants any photos throughout the day, feel free to come grab me, because I don't like that barrier of, oh, she's a photographer, we can't ask her for stuff. And that actually kind of gets new couples, to come and ask me if they can have a photo, just the two of them. And so if it's a couple, I'm not going to snap them just against some crap background. Like, I'm going to take them to a nice spot and make sure it's a nice photo. So I don't know if that's kind of paid off sometimes. And that again is like, because I've been to a wedding and there's been a photographer there, and it was all of a sudden the photographer's barking at everyone, but they've not sort of said hello and kind of, just been a person. So that's something that I'm very conscious of, that I want to do. And maybe that's indirect marketing, who knows?
Yeah, that's a very good point. It's like when you come into the church and you're about to set up and you say hi to the vicar, and they're like, where are you going to stand? Mm-hmm. And you're like, hi, nice to meet you too. My name is Agne. Like,
I'd like to know what you had for breakfast first, and like how your morning's been. Like,
but really, like, because you're working on the day doesn't mean you don't say hi to people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
politeness and respect go a long way. Who would have thought?
I'm very similar with word of mouth in terms of couples. Obviously, their friends see it, they want you to hire you as well. But I think a big one that I get that you probably don't is recommendations from photographers. Yes. So when I shoot a wedding, I try to get along naturally. I'm not forcing anything, but I tend to get along with photographers.
What's happened here? Is that why I'm here? I've been lured in.
I'm just here for the recommendations, Amy-Rose. Let's not kid ourselves. But yeah, I'm sorry to say, but I am friendly with other photographers as well.
It's all too much today.
Should we just stop this whole thing now? But yeah, like, obviously you're there to do a similar job, and if you work together, it just makes the day easier for everyone. Yeah. So when eventually we do work well together, they tend to recommend me, because they don't want a videographer that gets in their way, and I try not to. And like we spoke last time, I try to put my input in there on placing the couples and stuff. Anyway, I try to get along with the photographers, and so far I think it's paid off well, because you don't just get inquiries and referrals for weddings, but you also get to work with people that you enjoy working with before. So I got to work with you a few times because you recommended me, and that's like, yes, now we get to be a team again, because you are, on the day you're a team. You're thrown in together with someone who you don't know, or and you have to make the day work together. So that can be hard if it's someone that you don't get on with.
Absolutely. And I feel like that's led us really nicely onto one of our other questions.
I'm glad that you're paying attention, because I'm just
I'm listening to what you're saying.
So speaking of referrals, venues. A lot of photographers, videographers are on
Recommended
supplier lists. Yes, I think I am for one venue or a couple or something, but I know that there are photographers and videographers out there who get the majority of their work because the venue just says, and this is the person who you book as a photographer, and they just get work in like that. Are you on any venue supplier lists?
The only one that I was fully made aware of was Hampton Manor, which I shoot at quite a lot in Solihull. And that just came about because I'd ended up shooting about 8 weddings or so there one year. And they'd found me entirely, the couples had found me entirely separately. And I was just like, looks like our couples are after a similar thing here. And they were like, oh, we should put you on our list then. I was like, okay, cool. But it's not something that I make a beeline for. But again, I know that it's quite a good marketing tool. So I know that some photographers will do that. I think for me, because I wanted to be able to shoot lots of different places, I didn't want to tie myself to a venue specifically, but I don't mind being tied to Hampton Manor in any way. It's a lovely place. And then I think there's a couple of others, but I think they almost didn't let me know, but then the couple said, oh, we got you off so-and-so's recommended supplier list. I was like, oh, that was nice of them. But I know that also some, I don't know, I don't agree with it, obviously, but some venues will take a cut of each vendor's work if they have been recommended. So that means that, like, a wedding supplier will have to having fun with your mint tea there.
I was doing it secretly while you were talking. It's like, no one's going to see this.
We're both drinking mint tea with loose leaves in, and we're waiting for a bit to like flap on our face like this. So yeah, they'll. It means that suppliers will then either have to add on an extra 10% onto their package price to be able to give that to the venue, or they have to just give them money essentially. And
I'm sorry, but that is rubbish. I would never agree to that. Like,
it seems immoral.
How can you justify charging for saying to a couple, this photographer is pretty good, why don't you book them? Like, that doesn't cost you £100 or however much. Yeah. But each to their own.
And then it also means that the people that they've got on their lists are people that have agreed to that, rather than, because if a venue turned around and said that to me, I'd say, well, I'm sorry, I don't want to be part of your list. So I'd like to know if a place was referring me, it was because of a genuine, like, we actually just like this person's work or whatever, rather than it being...
they've paid me the most money.
Yeah.
But one other thing that we haven't discussed yet was Facebook groups for recommendations, which is also a very big thing. So we spoke as well last week about the pros and cons of working as a self-employed person. And one of the cons that we didn't mention was one of the biggest ones that I think everyone will find when they go into business for themselves, which is you get pretty lonely. Yeah. You're working on your own. Obviously on the day you're working with other vendors, you're there with loads of people, you're talking to everyone, but the majority of the time you're at home by your computer by yourself. And you work weekends, so in the week when you've got some time that you can spare, everyone's at work, and then on the weekends you're working. So we tend to join a lot of Facebook groups, a lot of wedding girls that shoot, or things that are relevant to you, photographers here and there. And one of these groups is, there's a few of these that are recommendation based. Yeah. So are you part of groups like that? Yeah,
like I'm really fortunate that I've got it's mainly on Facebook that we stay in touch, because we're all over the country, but we're super close, and we'll organize like workshops with each other, like residential type things, and so we know each other in person as much as we would do on Facebook, and so we know that when we're getting a referral off them, we know exactly who it is, and we know everything about their work. Like, we'll share whatever we can with each other in that group as well. Say if we've got like so yes, referrals, but also like if you've got any issues with managing a client, or kind of a what would you do in this situation type job, like their support is just second to none. Like not for referrals, but I just don't feel like I'd have been able to establish myself as well and have the confidence that I do have without them. So they are like your work colleagues. So I met a couple of them. So like when I first started shooting, I just kind of reached out to a couple of people on Instagram, and I was like, I just wondered if I could come shoot with you as well, or if you wanted to come shoot with me. At this point, I still had a bit of a portfolio going, so it was just about building it more, really. And then so I kind of got friendly with a couple of them, and then there was photographers, yeah. And then, you know, so-and-so knows so-and-so, and then all of a sudden you've kind of got this little network of like 10 people or so, and you're like, let's start a Facebook group. Mm-hmm. And so then that 10 people, each person from there, they've also got someone that they're really close to. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden it's about 20 people, and it's all like super active, really chatty, and then you're kind of networking and talking with people that I now consider really good friends, but like I wouldn't have known them had it not been through like more local photographer that I'd initially spoken to.
I think that's quite rare though, what you've got, because a lot of the times people are part of these massive Facebook groups that are like hundreds, thousands of people. And there's a lot of drama going on in those groups.
Well, that was it. Yeah, we knew with this group that we just didn't want any of that drama at all. So
bitching about clients, bitching about other colleagues, and
like it just needs to be like a safe space to say what you want to say, but like there's kind of no judgment, or you know, no one would ever kind of get on at someone for saying the wrong thing or whatever. It's just not necessary, I think, a lot of it, but it does happen.
So do you reckon your styles are similar? Because you say you refer each other. So if a bride says to you, you know, you can't shoot my wedding, is there someone you can recommend that's similar to you? Like, how does that go about in a group like that? Do you say, hey guys, with a similar style to me, can you do it? Because sometimes everyone replies to you, and then you have to sift through who you can recommend.
So I would say in this smaller group, we're all pretty similar, so I'd be comfortable sending any of them as referrals, and I'd like to think they'd do the same. Don't send Amy's. But yeah, in the bigger groups, is obviously you have to be a bit more selective if you want to, but then equally, you know, Eva's getting very into this. I still think it's very good of you anyway to help a client find someone else, even if you're not available to shoot with.
Because it's still work.
Yeah, exactly. It's work that you're not getting paid for. So, I probably don't use the bigger UK-wide ones very much. But I know that that's how a lot of people get going, and there's also like emergency cover groups and stuff. So like, touch wood, if either of us ever got sick on the day of a wedding, like, and you reached out to your immediate people and they couldn't shoot, you'd be able to find someone hopefully in a similar style. Like, they were super useful during COVID, when everyone was dropping like flies.
Yeah, I bet.
So yeah, but they are good. So it's nice to just have people to chat to about similar things. Like, I feel very at home chatting to other photographers, other videographers. I feel like we've kind of got a similar outlook on life. Not all of them, obviously, but like, and there's no pun intended there. Like, we see life in the same way, and I think that's a really good thing to have, because otherwise you are just pretty much just stuck you and the laptop and the dog, and there's only so much she can give you. However much she'd like to give more.
Mila can give more, but maybe too much.
Yeah, Mila's like too much of a giver. Yeah.
Too much of a giver. Yeah.